Hello everyone, here we are again, back with this fabulous story called Bad Dad by David Walliams. And if you remember, we left Frank on top of the roof of his dad's Rolls Royce, and he's still there. So let's get started. With Frank still clinging to the roof, the Rolls Royce raced back into the pub car park. Dad must have been in a triumphant mood after his daring jump over the police cars as he spun the car around backwards into its original parking space, missing the neighbouring vehicle by a centimetre. Screech! The Rolls Royce came to such an abrupt halt that Frank couldn't hold on any longer. The force of the stop meant that the boy was instantly catapulted from the roof of the car. He soared through the air as if he'd been shot out of a cannon, and he landed in a bush. Fortunately, the bush cushioned his fall, and no bones were broken. Although Frank was dazed, he instantly picked himself up and hurried off to somewhere safe to hide. He didn't want his father to discover he was out late at night in his pyjamas spying on him. If so, the boy would be in big trouble. "What was that?" shouted the man in the passenger seat. What? Replied one of the men in the back. "There must have been someone on the roof of my motor. After him!" shouted the first man. The two men in the back stumbled out of the car. One was tall and wiry, the other was big and bulky. Frank watched from his hiding place behind a bin in the pub car park. The pair must have been feeling the worse for wear since their stunt drive, as they both looked wobbly. Their faces had turned green, and they were bent over, taking shallow breaths. "I said after 'em! What are you waiting for, Fingers?" "I can't, Governor. I think I'm going to hurl," replied the thin, tall one. "You! Thumbs!" The bulky one had tears in his eyes. "I wet myself, Governor," he murmured. "I can't run in wet underpants." "Why not?" "Me mum, she says I'll get a rash." "You pair of useless twits! Gilbert, after him!" Dad climbed out of the car. Since losing his leg, he walked with a limp. His wooden leg always dragged behind him. "I'm sorry, Mr. Big. It's late. I have the babysitter at home. I gotta go." The little man's eyes narrowed and his words shot out like bullets. "You are not listening. There was someone on the roof of my roller. Now, the three of you, find them, now!" Mr. Big might not have been big, but when he snarled, it was like coming face to face with a crocodile. Immediately, Fingers, Thumbs, and Dad, especially Dad, all did as they were told. Thumbs waddled awkwardly, as you might well do if you'd wet your underpants. The wiry Fingers jabbed Dad in the back, pushing him forward to face whatever danger was lurking in the shadows. Hiding behind the bin, Frank had nowhere to run. He leaned back into the darkness, praying he would not be seen. The three men paced nearer to him. Fingers searched the bushes, skimming the branches with his long, thin digits. Meanwhile, Thumbs was huffing and puffing, getting down on his knees to look under all the cars. "There's nothing here, Governor," called out Thumbs. "You're here, Governor," added Fingers. Dad was now so near Frank that the boy could hear his father breathing. The man peered behind the bin, squatting. There was his own son, looking guilty, scared, and shaken by the ride. "Is anyone there?" shouted Mr. Big. "No, no one," replied Dad, staring his son straight in the eye. "No one at all." Dad shook his head slightly. The boy took this as a signal to stay as still and as quiet as he possibly could. If he moved a muscle, they would both be in deep trouble. "It must have been a bird, Mr. Big." "Ruddy big bird," smuttered the little man. "Now we have to get out of here before the fats start sniffing around. Fingers, get the rolls resprayed and change the number plates in case they trace us." "Yes, Governor." "Thumbs, you can drive now." "Oh, thank you, boss," replied the bulky one. "I want you, all of us, to get me home in one piece. Now pile in, all of you." Dad paced back to the car with his head down, no doubt nervous about giving something away. "What's going on with you?" hissed Mr. Big. The crime boss was as sharp as a knife. Nothing got past him. "Nothing." "I can trust you, can't I?" "Yes, absolutely, sir." "Good. I would hate any harm to come to that boy of yours. Now, get in." From his hiding place, Frank heard the doors to the Rolls-Royce shut clunk. The car sped off into the night. A feeling of deep unease descended upon the boy. His father was mixed up with some very bad people. Now we'll go straight on to the next chapter, and this one is called Slap, Slap, Slap. I wonder what that means. Frank ran all the way back to his flat. He crouched down at the front door and looked through the letterbox. It was dark, but he could hear Auntie Flip snoring loudly. So he quickly opened the door and darted along the corridor to his bedroom. In a hurry, Frank leaped onto his lilo and burst it. Bang! Catastrophe! The noise woke up Auntie Flip, and she came charging through the door. "Is everything all right?" she bawled. "I heard a bang!" Frank pretended to be asleep. That did not deter Auntie Flip. The lady shouted again, this time right into his ears. "Frankie!" And still, he kept his eyes closed. Now, the woman began patting him on the cheeks, a bit too hard for Frank to keep pretending to be asleep. Pat, pat, pat! Now, the pats became slaps! Slap, slap, slap! Just then, Dad entered through the front door and called out, "Sorry I'm late, Auntie Flip." "It's all right," the boy heard her say. "Frank's been sleeping like a baby all night." "Has he? Really?" Dad had a hint of surprise in his voice. "Oh, yes. He's been no trouble at all." "Oh, thank you. I will need you to babysit on Saturday again, please." "It would be a pleasure, Gilbert. I'll see you then." "Thank you, Auntie Flip. Good night." Frank heard the door close, but kept pretending to be asleep. Dad was not fooled. He'd seen his son moments ago hiding behind a bin. Now, they had some serious talking to do. What on earth did you think you were doing? Demanded Frank, as he kneeled on his son's bedroom floor. What on earth do you think you were doing? Replied Frank. Dad did not look pleased that his question had been met by a question, and he stood his ground. I asked you first. The boy gulped. He always gulped when he was about to tell a lie. I couldn't sleep, so I just popped out to get some fresh air. Nice try, mate. Frank had been busted. He had to confess. All right, Dad, I did follow you, but only because I was worried about you. Worried? About me? I was worried about you! Hanging on the roof of the speeding car? Are you nuts? It wasn't moving when I climbed up on it. You could have got yourself killed. This took a moment to sink in. Frank sighed and replied, I know, Dad. It was stupid of me, but by the sound of it, you are about to do something stupid too. The man paused. He couldn't be sure how much his son had heard. It's not what you think it is. I think it's something bad. It's just driving. It can't be just driving. They're bad people. Please, Dad, don't do it. Now the man had tears in his eyes. I'm trying, okay, mate? I'm trying. I'm trying to do the best for you. Dad, whatever it is, I don't want you to do it. But it's just one job. That's all, one job. Then I'll pay off all my debts and still have a bit of money left over for us. But Dad, now please, mate, please. I know what I'm doing, all right? You saw how I drove tonight. I had my eyes closed through a lot of it. Well, I can drive just as well as I could in the old days. I know. But whatever it is they want you to do, please don't. I don't want you to go to prison or get killed. The accident was bad enough. I'm scared, Dad, really scared. Frank wrapped his arms around his father's neck and pressed his head into his chest. He couldn't help but sob. The sobbing went from son to father in no time. Tears ran down the man's face. He was in a terrible situation. Mr. Big and his gang had threatened the person he loved more than anyone else in the whole world, his son. If Dad didn't do what they said, goodness knows what they'd do to Frank. Come on, mate, don't cry, said Dad as he gently stroked his son's hair, like he had since Frank was a baby. You've always been my hero, Dad. Please, please, I beg you, don't do it. The boy lifted his chin and looked into his father's eyes. The man couldn't bear seeing his son like this. Well, if that's how you feel, I won't do it. Really? Really? A smile crept across the boy's face. You promise? Promise. I'll find another way to pay off the money. You can always sell my Lilo, Dad. I don't mind sleeping on the floor. Somehow, this made Dad even sadder than before. You're such a sweet boy. Now give us a huggle and go to sleep. They wrapped their arms around each other. Okay, Dad, I will. Good lad. With that, Dad got up and turned to go. His son called after him. Dad? Yep. Whatever happens, you'll always be my hero. The man said nothing and closed the bedroom door behind him. Well, I wonder if Dad will stick to that promise, because Mr. Big's threat is a big threat. Well, there we are. I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you next time. Until then, you take care. Bye-bye for now.